Hey loves, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to learn how to make this beautiful layered or pleated bubu gown. You can call it an Agbada bubu anyhow, but in today's video I am going to show you guys how I made this, so you can see it is beautiful and it is very neat. So you need about 4 yards of fabric if you are using a fabric that is up to 60 inches by length. So 4 yards is enough. And for the measurements, you're going to need your shoulder measurement, the hip measurements, and the full length. That is the only measurements you need for this. You don't really need other measurements. So here is the fabric that I'll be using. I am using a doll face fabric, and we know that doll face is always 60 inches long. So the 60 inches will not be enough for me. And secondly, this bubu gown does not have any joining at the shoulder, so I did not fold vertically. We know how we normally fold our fabric if you want to cut. I did not fold vertically. I had to fold the other way around, that is horizontally. You can see how I am folding this fabric right now. I did not fold it the normal way we fold our fabric. So this gown does not have any joining at the shoulder. So it is by 60, and I have 30 inches. So you can see I folded vertically. So I'll go ahead and fold again so that I can get the front part and the back part together. Like I told you guys, it does not have any joining at the shoulder. It is a cut together gown. So right now I have folded, and I'll go ahead and measure. If you fold, you measure. So the full length of the gown is 60 inches, and I will add 5 inches for the 6 inches for the hem. If you check the down part, you will notice that it has a very bold folding. So I have gotten the 60, and I'll go ahead and add 6 inches extra. So this 6 inches is for the hemline, and I'll cut off the excess that I have. So right now you can see that our shoulder is on fold, and I'm going to flip it so that the folded part of the fabric will be facing me. So you can see it is folded at the shoulder, and this is the front and the back. The shoulder is folded, the front and the back is folded as well. No zipper allowance is needed. So right now I am going to measure my bust point, that is 11. I'll measure my hip line, that is 28. Then my knee line is supposed to be 38, but I made it 39 because I want the knee line to be low. So from the shoulder to the knee line I made it 39. So the full length is 60 inches, and we have the extra 6 inches for the hemming. So I have ruled the lines. So right now I am going to measure the shoulder area. The shoulder area is one of the major measurements. So the shoulder is 8. Then I will add the sleeve length. From the shoulder to the sleeve length is 10 inches, right? So I marked 10. Then I will add extra 10 inches, because if you check well, this dress has a pleat at the shoulder. So I will use 5 inches for each of the pleats. It has double pleats, 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. So I will use 5 inches, that is 10. So I added another 10 inches. So I marked my shoulder. From my shoulder I marked my sleeve length, and from my sleeve length I added 10 inches for the pleats on this bubu. So my neckline I measured 3 by 4, that is for the front, and for the back it will be 3 by 1.5. It will be 3 inches wide and 1.5 deep. So you can see I have marked out the neckline for the front and for the back. So from that area where you measured the shoulder and the sleeve length and everything, you mark down. Then at the knee length, this is the knee length, I will divide my hip by 4. 44 divided by 4 is 11, plus 10 inches, that is 21. So at your knee, divide your hip by 4 and then add extra 10 inches. So whatever you got, mark it there. Then from there, from the knee, you will mark a straight line down to the full length of this bubu gown. Then from that knee line you will make a curve so that this gown will a kind of look like a cold gown. You know how we normally cut a cold bubu gown, so that is the shape. So right now I will cut out the neckline of the back first, then I will cut the sides. So first of all, notch the center of this neckline. We know that this dress does not have any shoulder joining, so notch the center of the neckline so that you know the center. Like I said, at the shoulder, measure your sleeve length and add extra 10 or 12 inches depending on how long your fabric is. This one is by 60. So after doing that, I will open this up. So I have opened the front and the back up. It is a cut together. So right now I'll cut out the front neckline because the front neckline is deeper than the back neckline. Then I'll give it a slit at the center front. Remember that the neckline of this dress has a slit at the center front. So here is the fabric that I'll be using for the facing. I want to use a facing, so the fabric is on fold. I'll go ahead and place it below the bubu gown. You can see how I placed it. It is longer on the front side so that it can accommodate this the slits on the neckline. So right now, from that place where I cut my slits, I will come down by like 6 inches and then mark. So this facing will be 6 inches below that slit area. So I am cutting out my neckline for the facing, and then I will open the slit also for the facing because I will use it to turn the neck round. Then 6 inches below the slit, you measure 6 inches below the slit or 5 inches. From there you will now cut out the shape of your facing. So the back neckline, it should be like 3 inches or 4 inches longer than the actual neckline. So here is the facing. If I open it up, you will see that it has the same shape of the neckline the main fabric has. So right now I'll pin it on the fabric. The first thing that I'll do on this is to turn the neckline. You will go to your sewing machine and turn it out neatly, then notch it round and top stitch. So here is the neckline of my dress after I opened it up. So right now I'm going to pin my facing on it. I'll use my facing and then pin it down before going to my sewing machine so that it will be very easy for me. Remember to sew the slits of this neckline neatly. It is very important. So after turning the neckline and after ironing, we will come back and then we'll start making the pleats on the bubu gown. We know that the bubu gown has pleats. So I am done turning with my facing and you can see it looks neat. Don't use your bias, please. Bias will not give you a neat finishing. So you can see the neckline is set. So right now I am going to fold this clothes back. Like I am going to fold it into the front and the back. So you can see now I have folded it into two. We have the front and we have the back, and we have turned the neckline together and everything is neat. So it is a cut together gown. The neckline, everything, if you are turning it, you have to turn it together. So here is the gown laid out flat. We have the front and the back. So right now I am going to mark my shoulder measurements. My shoulder is 16 inches divided by 2, that is 8. So I will place 8 at the center of this neckline. Then I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder. So I'll go ahead and place 8 because the shoulder is 16, the midpoint of 16 is 8. So from there I will mark 16 inches. So you can see I have marked my shoulder. This area that I marked right now is the actual shoulder of this gown, that is 16 inches. So from that area where you marked your shoulder, you will go in by 5 inches. So this 5 inches is for the first pleat. I'll mark 5 inches on this side and I'll mark 5 inches on the other side because this gown has the two pleats on each side. So this 5 inches is for the pleats. Remember I added 10 inches before for the 2 pleats that it will have. So this 5 is for the pleat, so I'll make the markings to show on the back part. So after marking this 5 inches, what you're going to do is that you will find the midpoint of that 5 that I marked. So I'll pick my fabric like this. You can see the one I'm picking is so that area is where I marked my chalk will be facing each other. If you check the picture very well, you will notice that the first pleat on this gown is around the shoulder area. So I'll pick my fabric this. You can see the way I picked that fabric. So in between the 5 inches is what I am going to iron now. So I'll sew a straight line down, that is from the shoulder down to the end of this gown. Then I will do it to the other side as well. I'll pick the gown like this, and I will the midpoint of the 5 inches is 2.5. So if you measure this fold, you will notice that it is 2.5. So this area where I'm marking my chalk is where I am going to sew on down. I will sew it down. So measure your shoulder, from your shoulder, then measure 5 inches. Then hold that shoulder line and the line where you marked 5 inches together. So hold them together, and then you will iron it first before running a stitch on it, because ironing needs to give you a guide, will serve as a guide when you go to your sewing machine, so that you will not miss the line. So you can see the one folding this fabric. This gown is a cut together gown, so the front and the back are the same. So I will fold this fabric, that is from the shoulder to the downside of the front, and then from the shoulder to the downside of the back. So you can see I am folding it down and I am ironing. As I am shifting, I am ironing so that it will have a line. This line is the midpoint between the shoulder and that area where I marked 5 at the shoulder. So you can see I am done ironing, and this part will be very easy to sew on. So I'll go ahead and extend this 2.5 because it is the midpoint of the 5 inches, right? So I'll mark 2.5 from the shoulder down to the front side, and from the shoulder down to the back side. So I am done running a stitch on it, and this is what it will look like. You can see that the first pleat on this Bubu gown is out. You can see how it looks. So I will iron it, and after ironing I will go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. I will go ahead and pick that area. You can see where I marked my shoulder on the other side, then from I marked 5 inches, then I will pick this fabric so that 2 lines will be opposite each other. So this is the midpoint of the 5 inches I marked from the shoulder. So I'll go ahead and iron from the shoulder down to the front side, and from the shoulder down to the back side, so that when I am sewing it will be easy for me. Like I said, mark your 2.5. You sew on that line where you marked 2.5. So I am ironing so that it will be very easy for me to sew on. So right now I will iron down to the back side as well. So I am done ironing. I will now measure my 2.5 down, and then I will sew on it from the down part of the front part to the down part of the back part. So right now I have one pleat on each side, so it is remaining the second pleat. Like I told you guys, it has 2 pleats, so you can see the pleats are fine. You can iron before taking the second one. So right now I will pick my fabric again in order to get the second pleat. So this is the front. You can see I have gotten my first pleat. So right now I'll pick my fabric again so that I can get the second pleat. So right now the difference is that this second pleat that I'm about to pick will not reach the down part of the gown. It will stop around the knee. So you can see I am picking it right now. So after picking, I will fold in. You can make it to be closer to the first one depending on how wide you want the space between them to be. So you can make it closer. So right now I have picked my fabric and I'll iron it flat so that the line will show. But I told you guys that this second pleat will not reach the full length of this gown, so it will stop around the knee. You can see where the curve of that cold shape around the knee stopped. It will just stop at that curve. You sew a slanted line into that curve and stop. But if you want, you can sew this pleat to reach the down part of the gown, but your gown will be very wide. You cut it to be very wide. That means the fabric that you are using should be more than by 60, unless you want it to have a joining at the shoulder. I don't know if you understand. So I'll go ahead and iron the back part. You can see the curved area of the cowl. You can see where it stops. So I will make that line to transition into that curve. So right now I'll mark 2.5. I'll start marking 2.5. So when I'm approaching the knee area, I will reduce it to 2 inches. Then from that 2 inches, I reduce it to 1 and to half an inch. You can see it is not straight, it's the kind of slanted at that point. Then I'll connect my lines to the shoulder, and from the shoulder I will mark for the front part. You can see I'll start marking 2.5. From 2.5 I will reduce to 2 inches, to 1 inch, and to half an inch. So by so doing, this second pleat will not reach the down part. It will stop around the that curved area around the knee. So you can see I am done making the second pleat. You can see this one is complete right now. So let me arrange it very well. This one is okay right now. So the fabric that I'm using is by 60. Had it been it is longer than 60, it would have been okay. That milkado, we have the ones that are longer than 60 inches. So you can see how the two of them look. So I'll go ahead and iron it flat, and after ironing I will have to pick my pleats on the other side. So if you have excess fabric, the folding of your sleeve will be wider, but due to I don't have excess fabric, the folding will be small. If you want, you can cut another fabric and then use it to fold, to hem the sleeve area, but we are coming to that. So I'll pick this fabric this way. I'm picking my second pleat, so I'll go ahead and iron it very well. I iron down to the full length of the front and the back. So after doing that, I will mark it the same way I marked the second pleat of the other side. So you can see when I'm reaching the curve, I will fold the fabric so that the line will enter the curve. So I have done ironing. I will mark my 2.5. Then I'll reduce it to 2 and to half an inch so that the line will enter that knee curve. You can see how slanted it is. So if your bubu is wider than this one, if it is by let's say 40 or by 35 unfold, it will be better. So I am done ironing. I'll mark my 2.5 down to 2 inches, down to 1.5, down to half, and then I will make my slant into the knee area. It depends on what you want. If you want it to reach the full length, fine. So After doing that, I'll go ahead and run a straight stitch down. It is very simple, just run a straight stitch down. So I am done doing that, and this is how the two of them looks. So I will fold them so that everything will be equal. Then I will notch the length of my sleeve, where I want the wideness of my sleeve to stop. So I will iron them, and then I will notch the place where I want my sleeve to stop. And remember, this Bubu gown has a slit at the down part. You will also notch where you want the slit to start from. So I am done ironing. You can see it is looking well laid out and fine. So I'll arrange them so that they'll be equal before I will notch my sleeve length, the wideness of my sleeve, and then where the slits will stop at the knee part. So if you can notice, these splits two of them did not reach the down part. One stopped around the knee part. So I'll go ahead and trim off the excess. Then I will take my full measurement. So right now I will measure where I want the sleeve to stop. So I want it to be at 11 inches. So I've marked 11 inches here, and I marked 11 inches on the other side. I want the wideness of the sleeve to stop at 11 inches. So I'll fold it, and after folding, I can now shape from the inside. Then when I am reaching the down part, the slits will stop at 15 inches above the hemline. You measure 15 inches above the hemline. That is where your sleeve will stop at. So right now I'll go ahead and shape everything. I'll fold my sleeve and shape, and then the same thing will happen to the slit area. I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and hem the slit area. Like I told you guys, if you want the hand to have a bold folding, you can use another fabric to turn the sleeve so that the folding will be very, very bold. So do your normal notch and then go ahead and close. So at the end of the day, here is the final look of my Bubu gown. I hope it is fine. It's a kind of stressful because it is long and it is a cut together. But if you want, you can cut it separately, but it doesn't have any cutting at the shoulder. It will make your work neater and more beautiful. So you can see the slit and you can see the pleats. Please, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe and share my video so that more people can get to see my video. I love you guys. If you have any suggestion, keep it in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye.